How are we going to deal with this monster who bombs mothers and babies?
Well, look, Kate, that is, there is a simple answer to that, which is that he needs to stop. I mean, for all of the debate that we have over what the West should or shouldn't do, one man decides to fly his planes over another country and drop bombs. One man decides to launch artillery and missiles indiscriminately at urban areas, including, as we've seen yesterday, hitting a hospital in which women are giving birth. He needs to stop.
Could it have been an accident? Russia this morning saying that it's fake news.
Well, look, if it was an accident, and I'm not sure that it will have been, then they need to be asking themselves some pretty serious questions about their tactics, because the fact is that they are launching artillery and missiles into urban areas where they know that targeting is challenging, and they are using weapon systems that are not precision. That is a policy choice that they've made, and the West is watching, and Russian commanders need to remember that war crimes are not just committed by those at the very top of the Russian government. They are committed all the way down the chain of command by all who are involved. And these atrocities are being watched, they're being catalogued, and people will be held to account.
Does Britain want this latest incident in Mariupol to be investigated as a war crime?
Yes, absolutely. It is. What you see on your TV screens is a war crime. Now, clearly, there is evidence to be gathered in which to prove that it is a war crime, and Western countries are working together to make sure that that evidence is gathered in the best way so that people can be held to account. But let's be clear, what Putin is doing is not a war waged between two militaries. Right now, he has besieged a number of Ukrainian cities, and he's waged a war against Ukrainian civilians.
At what point will it be right for the UK and or other NATO countries to intervene to prevent further war crimes?
Well, this isn't being done as NATO, but lots of countries have effectively made a contribution that will allow the Ukrainians to defend themselves better, and with some success. So in the first wave of military aid that the international community sent, there were, from the UK's perspective, anti-tank weapons. We've now sent 3,615 of those, and there's more to come. And they have been, as you've seen in your footage of burnt-out Russian armoured columns, they've been devastatingly effective. Other parts of the international community sent things called Stinger missiles. Now, they are kind of entry-level anti-aircraft missiles, but they've been very successful. The Ukrainian government claimed that 48 helicopters and 44 combat aircraft have been shot down. And so successful have those Stingers been that they've forced the Russians to fly their combat missions at night. And whilst I can't verify the footage you showed earlier on, that was a nighttime mission. So the next step is to provide the Ukrainians with an anti-aircraft capability that works at night. And as the Defence Secretary announced to the House of Commons yesterday, we are looking at a capability called the high-velocity missile, which we hope will be able to achieve that. And we're just looking at the practicalities and feasibility of how we would deploy that to the Ukrainians.
OK, rest assured, Minister, we only show footage on this channel that has been independently verified.
Of course, I'm sorry. I know, you're very good at doing that.
Thank you. We know that the Ukrainians and the Russians are meeting in Turkey to try to come up with some sort of deal. Isn't now the time for compromise? Is now the time for us to speak to our Ukrainian colleagues and urge them to come to some sort of compromise with Russia?
But what compromise would you suggest is acceptable? I mean, 4 weeks ago, Ukraine was a sovereign country living peacefully without threatening its neighbours within its own borders. I don't know that the international community should be turning around to President Zelensky and say it's time to reward Putin with having basically bullied him out of the Donbass and to write off the Crimea. If President Zelensky were to choose to do that as the sovereign leader of Ukraine, that's a decision for him. But I think he's made very clear he's unwilling to accept that. And I don't know that the international community should be willing to trade away Ukrainian sovereignty as part of any negotiation.
100 military personnel are going to Poland to help with visa applications. How many are going to Calais?
Will you forgive me that I think your gallery might still be coming through in front of, on the speaker? Could you ask me your question again, Kay, please?
I can. I'm sorry about that. 100 military personnel are going to Poland. How many are going to Calais?
We're not sending any to Calais at the moment, having had a conversation with Home Office. Forgive me, we've still got gallery coming through quite loudly. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I'm sorry about the technical issues. Is it fixed now?
I'll push on. So we're not sending any to Calais. I met with the immigration minister yesterday, and I think their feeling is that the visa application centres in northern France are centres that they can reinforce themselves. What they have asked us to do is to supply manpower into Poland, which is the busiest of the visa application centres by some margin. And so we're just in the process of making that happen. And we will help out in any way we can, because I think, you know, there's effectively two sides to the to what can be done to bring refugees here more quickly. There's a policy choice around the checks that we go through, but equally you can increase the capacity of the pipeline to process more people more quickly. The MOD has made the offer to the Home Office. We will lean in to help them with that. They've accepted that offer. We'll supply as many people as they need in order to be able to get the highest number of people processed in the quickest time possible. And then the Home Secretary has got some choices, which I know she's considering, around how to further change the visa process and what checks might be necessary within it.
Because I've been looking at the visa application process, Mr. Habib, for the benefit, I know that you'll know what it is, but for the benefit of our viewers, people need to create an account, they need to upload proof of qualifying family in Britain, they need to upload proof of Ukraine residency before the 1st of January, they need to provide evidence that they're related to family in Britain or explain why they can't, they need to translate the documents into English, they need to book and attend an appointment at a centre in Poland, Hungary, Romania, Moldova or France to take biometrics, they need a TB vaccination certificate waived, but applicants are mistakenly being asked for one anyway. And these people that are fleeing from war, surely we need to do something about that.
Well, and I think the Home Secretary is very much keeping it under review. There is it's a hard job to be Home Secretary. You know, you have to balance on the one hand the risks to the United Kingdom, and I accept that people will look at these TV screens and say, look, there is an immediate imperative to waive all this stuff and do it quicker. I know that she is looking very, very carefully at what bits of policy could reasonably be changed in order to do that. But as I said, there is another way of increasing the speed at which this is done, and that's the bit that we're involved in. We will make sure, through working with our colleagues at UK Visa and Immigration and Home Office ministers, that we are providing staffing to visa application centres around the border of Ukraine so that they have high capacity and are able to deal with applications more quickly, which I think, you know, irrespective of what policy changes may or may not come, that will make things much better for those who are leaving Ukraine and want to come to the United Kingdom.
What's going to happen to military personnel who've deserted their posts to go to fight in Ukraine?
They'll be in an awful lot of trouble.
What does that
mean?
I mean,
well, they have, to be clear, and the Army has put out a statement overnight to say this. It is illegal for a British service person to, first of all, to go absent without leave in the first place, but to go absent without leave in order to fight in a foreign war is simply unacceptable, and frankly risks the United Kingdom being wrongly claimed by Russia to be a belligerent in this. And I think, you know, service people who might think that they are doing the right thing should reflect that it is 100% not the correct thing to be doing. And I'd go further and say it's not just that very small number of soldiers that have gone AWOL apparently in order to go and fight in Ukraine. I would say to the wide veterans community, I know, because I have stood in the room where you do your attestation and you accept the unlimited liability and service of your country to stand up for what's right in the world, that there's a thing deep inside you as a soldier that makes you see TV images like the ones you're showing and makes you want to go and fight to put things right. But no good comes from British service people or veterans going to Ukraine to be a part of this. The Ukrainians have got a huge amount of manpower in their army. The Ukrainian nation has rallied to take up arms. role that the West is playing is to provide them with the best weaponry that we can so that they can achieve their aims, and we are supporting every way we can. This is not the time for people to be going there. And more importantly, Kay, as the Ukrainians have made clear, once you cross the border with the expectation to fight, you're in it for good. So people who think they can go there, do a couple of weeks, take some selfies, get some Instagram shots, and then come home, that is not the way the Ukrainians are viewing the people that go to fight for them. British people should not be doing it.